to an episode of Theory Tuesdays with Esther,
Rachel,
and
a monster in disguise.
Oh,
Theon.
Okay. I was like, that's a new intro. Got it.
We're going to talk about every theory from disappearances, murders, aliens,
Are the aliens in the hollowed out holographic moon really taking over my brain
lizard
waves?
people, we're gonna cover everything, and if you have a theory you want us to do, then comment down below and we will do that. So to start, we are going to do a disappearance of Jonathan Aujay. Was it a suicide? Was it a disappearance? Or was it murder? Cover up.
Jonathan Aujay, is the juice loose?
Is the juice loose?
The juice is loose.
Oh no. Oh no, guys.
Or did someone cook his goose?
Oh,
This guy.
That's
Oh.
good.
Oh no. All right, I'm ready.
So, a little about Jonathan Aujay. He, at the time of his disappearance, 38 years old, 6 feet, and approximately 165. So, pretty good size. You know, he's pretty fit. He did 18 years as a paratrooper in the Army Special Forces.
Wow.
So very decorated. And then after that, he went into Special Enforcement Bureau as a canine dog handler, and his dog at the time of his disappearance was named Bosco.
Bosco.
He was an experienced outdoorsman. He had 10 climbing expeditions in Mount Whitney, which is the highest peak in the contiguous U.S.
Not the contiguous. It's only like the third highest in the contiguous.
What? Wait, what? So, like in the U.S., it's the highest peak.
In the continental United
continental.
States.
Okay, got it. Because
Not
maybe
counting
Hawaii
Alaska,
Alaska.
yeah,
Okay,
and
have
all
one
of the-
higher.
yeah,
Okay,
so-
got it.
With an elevation of over 14,000 feet.
Where's that
So
at? Do you
he's
know?
at California.
Oh, okay.
In the Sierra Nevada.
I did not know where it was
Beautiful,
at.
So very experienced in the climbing or outdoorsman. He was an avid runner. He had 6 50-mile ultra marathons under his belt. And he actually, before his disappearance, the week before, he just finished his 6th.
Wow.
And it is literally 50 miles of just running.
That's crazy.
Right.
Like, kudos to you, bro.
Yeah.
Do we know if this dude is missing or just taking a well-deserved nap?
At the time of his disappearance, he was actually training for the Western States 100-mile endurance run.
I'm sorry. Like, I
So
just
he
need
just finished a 50-mile.
And he
now
was
he's
training
about to
for
train
100
for
miles.
100 miles.
I give mad props to people who run for fun. I don't run unless I'm chased. So I think that this is amazing. These people will surely survive the zombie apocalypse. I'm going to go ahead and provide you with, I guess I'm going to feed the zombies because they're going to go ahead and take me out.
And
But that's crazy.
And it just shows, with his background, I mean, he is an endurance man, very mentally stable. I mean, you have to be for running up 50 miles.
And then training to 100.
And then training to 100. You are climbing the tallest peak in the continental U.S.
That's a lot of solid, alone time.
Yeah. So,
I mean, for real.
I mean, his mental and physical strength is
on point.
Top notch.
Top notch. So his last sighting, Thursday, June 11th, 1998. Aujay drove to Devil's Punchbowl Natural Area, which is a place that he actually loved to run. He ran the trails all the time. He's very familiar with this place. Whoop.
I'm sorry. Now, Andre's cold, wet stash got my side.
Aujay is our dog, so
Just
he's
Devil's Punchbowl.
Sorry, I was like, whoa. Okay.
So that morning he was wearing a green JanSport day pack, olive green shorts, light colored shirt, hiking boots with black crew socks, blue or green and white baseball cap, a Casio watch, and black oval glasses. And I did have to look at what a Casio watch looked like because I wasn't too familiar with it.
Okay, first off, Casios were like the bomb back in the day.
They were. I mean,
the ones with the calculators on them?
Yeah, I knew, but I had to refresh my memory of what they
I'm sure he
like.
did not have the calculator. He didn't have the calculator watch. He didn't have. Although if he did, he was probably calculating his miles that he had been running.
There we go.
Or all the ladies he was beating off with a stick with that ensemble.
Oh yeah, that right. I mean that was
green
serious.
on green on light.
With the Casio watch.
Yes. Okay, so during the trail, he saw a group of students that he actually spoke to before. He stopped and said, gave him a little speech about what he was doing, his run. He was going to the Baden-Powell Peak, which is a little over 9,000 feet and 20 miles from where he saw the kids. So he's like, what's up? Just letting you know. And then he was like, I'll be back before sundown. Deuces. It's like, why would you tell kids that? They don't care.
Yeah, that's a little odd. That just seems a little weird that he said that.
He was like, I'll be back before sundown. Like they were going to be there.
I don't know. That seems like an important piece to this. I'm not sure why, but okay.
So the camp employees saw a man fitting OJ's description running towards the Baden-Powell Peak. So that's cool. And then around 6 p.m., another camp employee saw a man with a green backpack walking towards the parking lot. So around 6 p.m. should be when he's heading home.
Okay.
So he should be finished with his route. But also, someone reported, a resident around the park area reported hearing a single gunshot around that time to the park employee.
Around the 6 p.m.-ish time?
Around the 6 p.m.-ish time. So, but there's nothing saying that anyone investigated any of that. So, I don't know if a single gunshot was just like common around there. I don't know if this is like it doesn't seem like it's hunting grounds. Like looking at the land, it's like so rocky and hilly, and it just does not look like you would find much wildlife that you'd want to hunt there.
Sometimes people
that you
like
would only
to
pop
just
once.
Shoot a gun just to shoot. I mean, we know this living where we live. I mean, people like to just are like, boom. I mean, I don't know. That is a little suspicious, but no one investigated it.
Nobody investigated, so. Okay, so, of course he told even his wife, Deborah, that he was going to be back before sundown, or during sundown. So, 11 o'clock runs around and no sign of OJ, so Deborah reports him missing. Then the police go out and see OJ's white pickup truck still in the parking lot, left undisturbed. No sign of him, though. So then they call search and rescue that get there around 11:30 and start the efforts. Then the next day, more people join the K-9 unit, especially the one he worked for. 3 extra search and rescue groups came through, and the emergency service detail. So they were really trying to find him. But they've already lost, who knows, if it really was 6 p.m. the last sighting, they lost a lot of time, especially in such a mountainous area.
Well, right. So, and then she called at 11:30. By the time all this is going on, you're talking, quite a bit of time, almost 12 hours, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So.
And then around day 3, when they were still looking for him, helicopters, horses, all-terrain vehicles were sent out, thermal imaging. They were really pulling out the works to find OJ. What it seems is that they were really pulling out the works because after about a week of not finding him, they kind of just called off the search. The official search was called off. So all the helicopters, all-terrain things, horses, all the man effort that they put into it was officially called off. So if you're looking for him past that point, it was on your own.
So it was a civilian search at that point.
Yeah.
So do we know if it was county or was it like, because each jurisdiction is different. So was it a county search or was it like a city search or like, because it was so he was reported missing, but it was in a park. So I just wondered who had jurisdiction.
I don't know, because they only said the Los Angeles, like the department that he worked for had jurisdiction around it. So the Los Angeles County department when it was out there searching and things like that. Supposedly.
So they called it off.
They called it off. So he is still to this day listed as a missing person, and the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department actually has him listed as missing person, possible suicide.
I wonder how they got to that if they didn't find any of his like did they find do we know if they found any pieces of like any of his stuff, like a shoe?
So far, nothing.
Those green on green on green or the Casio watch?
Yeah. So far, nothing. So we're going to get into some theories and put in our little opinions. So this is our opinions on the theories that have came up. So theory 1, since he had a military background, a lot of people thought he was called back into the service. He was still fit for the job, still had training and things like that. So a lot of people thought maybe he was called back. And I don't know if this really happens.
Okay, so I'm going to debunk it. It does happen. So technically when someone gets out, they typically have so many years of reserves that they still owe. So like, I guess maybe it helps people to know kind of my background. I grew up as a military kid. My dad retired after 24 years of service, and then currently, a military spouse. So that's where we're kind of at. So got a little bit of background in this piece. So yes, he could have essentially been called up. However, his wife would not have reported him missing, because what happens at that point is the military does inform the listed dependents, so that way they don't have situations like this happen. Yeah. So he could have essentially been called back to service, but they would have taken care of all of those other pieces.
Especially after 1998, you think he would have had like some sliver, or she would have had
she would know how this
works,
like
he
and that's what I was going to say.
Of contact.
Exactly. If she was a military spouse for that entire time that they were married for, she knows how this works, and she knows, because yes, he would have disappeared on secret missions because he was special forces. He would have never been able to tell her for like OPSEC and stuff, but they would have let her know. Yeah. She would have had a contact at some point, and someone would have said something, and it wouldn't still be listed the way it's listed. So, debunked.
What do you think, baby?
Yes.
Done.
So, theory 2 is that he escaped to Alaska. He fantasized about moving to Alaska, a lot of fishing, hiking, things to do around there. He would show Deborah, his wife, listings, asked her to move there, and Deborah was like, nah, brah, don't want to do it. No, thank you. So, a month before disappearing, OJ asked Deborah for a divorce after 12 years of marriage. After 12 years, month before. So then he packs personal items, like he packed his medals, hiking and gear, climbing things, memorabilias. He gives a family heirloom bookshelf back to his in-laws. And then we find that he gave his new lover, Vicky DeVita, a golden necklace that belonged to his father. So we also find he had a new lover in the mix who was actually a runner, a fellow runner, and he met her through some runs and marathons.
Like you do.
Like you do, you know. So some people thought he was getting things in order and he had money stashed or something and just disappeared to Alaska, where he's always wanted to be.
Gross.
What do you think, baby?
No one wants to move to Alaska. Moving to Alaska is some shit that happens to you. And I think this was all a red herring. So he talked about moving to Alaska like a month before disappearing, and then tried to get like a divorce, and all of a sudden he has a girlfriend and all that, giving all this stuff away. I think Homeboy was on the run, and he told people Alaska, because it's a big place, it's far away, it's hard to find people there. He's probably living it up in Puerto Rico or something.
I mean, I'm kind of with Theon on this one. So, like, he's setting a scene. This feels very staged. Like, you know, he says he wants a divorce a month before. He packs up his personal items. He starts giving stuff away. My question is he gives this heirloom bookshelf to his in-laws. But wouldn't that be his wife's family? Like, why the hell doesn't he leave? Like, I mean,
I don't know.
That's
like,
so confusing to me on that piece. Like, I'm just a little confused about that. Because I'd be like, whoa, hello? That's my bookshelf. What in the hell are you doing with this? But, I mean, you're giving it back to my mom. I'd probably be like, whatever, maybe I didn't like the bookshelf anyway. Whatever, I don't want space for it. But also, I want to, like, Vicky DeVita. That sounds like a fake-ass name.
Sounds like a fake
name. I mean, I'm just saying, like, maybe she exists. I'm sure she does. Because I'm sure there's pieces in there.
She has passed.
Oh, yeah, conveniently. Exactly. And then, you know, I don't know. It sounds, and I'm with Theon. Like, Alaska's a big place. It's the last frontier in America. So why not, like, if I'm going to tell somebody I'm going somewhere, I mean, I might say, like, because Antarctica is not believable. Like, and it's hard to get there. But where else is, like, a big place where you can easily disappear? There's so many people in Alaska that live off the grid.
Yeah.
Like, and this guy, like, I mean, this does sound like he's, like, running from something. But what? What's he, like, is he running from?
So people who are not willing to go to Alaska to find him, that's who he's running from.
I don't know, like, I knew a woman that read books, was, like, listening to podcasts about moving to Alaska. Like, that was her life.
Well, I was going to say, I have friends whose, their first duty station, they've been married since, like, high school, and their first duty station was Alaska. They loved it. They bought a house there. He ended up doing 20. They moved back, like, 4 or 5 years ago when he retired, and they love it. But they're the only people I know. I mean, some people really love Alaska. Like, I've heard it's beautiful. Like, people who take trips there, and they talk about it all the time. They say Alaska's beautiful. But to go from California, where it's such a different, you know, basically environment and culture and all of these other things, than to go to Alaska, I can understand why Deborah was like, bah, I don't know about all that.
No.
So, you know, I'm not really sure. Especially if he kind of just sprung it on her and he finally got out. He's got this job. It sounds like he enjoys this job or whatever. And she sounds like she's maybe enjoying her life. And he's like, hey, let's move to Alaska.
What do you think?
No. Sit down. It's like, you might as well have asked me to move to, like, Arkansas?
Hell. Let's just move to hell next to the coals. I hear it's lovely in springtime.
There is a place in hell. I mean, it's called Michigan. Hell, Michigan.
Ooh, Hell, Michigan. There we go.
Okay. All right.
So theory 3, was it a suicide? As the police department still has a listed possible suicide because they never found a body. So they don't know for sure. But before his disappearance, he did have a meeting with the sheriff department psychologist with Deborah, his wife, and it did not go well. But Deborah just thought he was going through a hard part of his life. Like, she didn't think he was suicidal at all. The therapist even asked, do you feel suicidal? And Deborah recounts that OJ said no. So, I don't know. But the same psychologist during the search said, of course, you know, she didn't think he was suicidal. But years later, she would say, no, he probably was. So she changed several years later, saying maybe he was. Before leaving that Thursday, June 11th, 1998, OJ told Deborah, have a nice life, tell Chloe, who is their 5-year-old daughter, I love her.
That's weird.
Which is a very weird thing to say. Like, I understand. Well, I mean, none of this. Well, maybe tell Chloe I love her because he didn't see her wake up or anything.
Yeah, but have a
nice life.
Like, what? Well, I mean, he was asking for a divorce.
Yeah, that's why Deborah at the time didn't really. She was just like,
whatever, bro. You're like all in your feels.
Maybe they had a fight the night before, and he was just like, have a nice life.
Maybe. I mean, we don't know the context behind that.
So
that's a little weird, though.
That's what he said to her, and she was just like, meh. So earlier, or like on another date during an argument, OJ put a loaded gun to his head and asked Deborah, what do you want me to do? Kill myself? On a highway as he was driving.
Okay.
So,
I'm going to
that was alarming.
Weigh in on some of this.
Like,
wait, I got one more.
Oh, okay.
And okay, so family members and those who worked with him oppose this theory, but you know, there's some interesting head scratchers.
If you've been in a long term relationship and you haven't thought about killing either yourself or your significant other, you're not in love.
I mean, Dan has a very, very good point. To add to his point, I'm going to say that he was Special Forces for 18 years. That is a really, really, really long time. And, you know, we don't know what they see. We can speculate. But there's definitely some, and we're talking 90s. So mental health, and let's just be honest, mental health in the military hasn't been addressed the way it needs to be handled even today. Even with the pieces that they've put in to help, it's not helped the way it needs to be handled, period. So in the 90s, you didn't discuss your mental health, because if you did, it was a career ender. So he most likely has some very severe PTSD, which is why I believe that the meeting with the sheriff psychologist didn't go well. And saying that he was not suicidal, I don't believe that he probably was suicidal. Does that not mean though that he doesn't have PTSD? No. That you can have PTSD and not be suicidal. Mm-hmm. You can have suicidal moments where you may feel that, and this is also could be a piece where he's just being extra dramatic, in an argument because he's feeling not heard or whatever, and he doesn't have the tools to express himself. And that's what I really honestly believe. I don't believe that he killed himself. This seems like a man who was very decorated, proud of his accomplishments, was training for more, had goals and ambitions, and without knowing anything about him and in respect for wherever he is in his family, he may have been a little narcissistic. I kind of get that feel. I've worked with canine handlers in the past, and not making a generalized statement, but semi-making a generalized statement, there's a piece where you have to be in control, and you kind of have to have this big personality. So there may be some mental issues there, but I don't think it's suicide. I don't believe that.
So, the final theory. Was it a murder / cover-up? Dun, dun, dun.
I don't know.
So, in early 1990, Antelope Valley, which is where they lived, was battling a rise in meth, mostly managed by biker gangs that were there in this city. It was a lot. I think it said it was 94% of the meth that was coming over to Utah and the surrounding states and things
like that. That's a lot of meth.
That's a lot of missing teeth.
It's a lot of meth. It's a lot of missing teeth.
That's a lot.
And for that to happen, rumors were going around that deputies would warn the dealers and chefs of upcoming drug busts and raids and things like that. Because, wow.
That or they've got 2 people on their sheriff's department. Right. And that's it. It's either that or that.
Exactly. So in internals, internals. An internal investigation led to indictments of 35 deputies that stole millions from drug dealers and drug busts. There was one dude that was caught on camera literally just stealing money from the place. They had him on camera, like, stealing thousands of dollars. I don't know. But it was during a raid. Like, it was like their cameras.
That's crazy.
So, you know, things like that was happening. A woman tied to the Antelope Valley outlaw bikers reported Aujay was taken care of after he went missing. Also, another informant claimed that a bike dealer said a deputy discovered something was going to be a hero and was taken care of before being put into a hole.
Oh.
So he had some pretty, like, that's pretty precise information. Yeah, like, homeboy found something, taken care of, in the hole now. So in the early 2000s, homicide detective Larry Bradenberg began investigating after more statements came out. More than just those two that would tie some deputies and the meth dealers together. A deputy was named in legal documents and testimony linking him to meth dealers and possible involvement to Aujay's disappearance. So there was one deputy in particular whose name kept coming up during the tips and call-ins that he was definitely involved with Aujay's disappearance. Bradenberg discovered an underground meth lab near Aujay's trail at the Devil's Punchbowl. So, after gathering more evidence, all the evidence that was there, he wanted to obtain a search warrant and wiretap the deputy in question. I mean, as you should, right?
Right. That sounds like standard operating
ties
procedure.
To all these people, but the captain at the time denied the request, and Bradenberg was removed from the case immediately.
Whoa. That doesn't sound like standard operating procedure.
No. So then in springtime 2000, Operation Silent Thunder. I don't know why I have to say it like that. I just feel like I'm just like
sounds smelly.
The Silent Thunder was created to combat, meth. So the operation was comprised of DEA agents and co-led by Deputy Sheriff Darren Hager, who uncovered, of course, more corruption. The corrupt deputies were providing false information, hiding drugs. They found drugs in a deputy's house and counterfeit 20s lining a wall.
Wow.
Like, you were just, not even trying.
Well, I mean, maybe they didn't need to, but it's been going on for so long.
And giving tip-off, of course, about raids to the dealers.
Wow, this is bad.
The deputy in question, again, was brought up, and more information was coming out that he definitely had involvement in Aujay's disappearance. The same captain was still around, of course, and denied Hager's investigation into the deputies. So they uncovered more deputies, but he was not allowed to go any further. There were no charges against these deputies. They weren't fired, no action taken. And of course, Hager gets investigated because the deputies that were named file a complaint, of course, of defamation and false accusation, false statements, false everything. So for a year, he was investigated by Internal Affairs Bureau and then fired afterwards.
Wow, that's really shisty.
Which he should have, what they came up with, he supposedly falsified documents and things like that. He should have just got a suspension but
Yeah.
he was just terminated altogether.
Right.
So of course he comes back and sues them, the LASD, for wrongful termination. Was awarded $4.5 million.
Wow.
But after taxes and paying legal fees, he got a little bit over $3 million.
Still pretty nice.
I mean,
Still pretty nice.
but
he can't find a job. Yeah, like his
right. No
name
one's
is
gonna hire
tarnished.
him.
Yeah. So he hasn't been able to really work.
Maybe
or
he needs
like
to
that.
move to Alaska.
Maybe. So that was the final theory.
Cops did it.
Cover up.
The cops and the bikers did it.
Yeah. So it sounds like the way it's laid out is that this place was like meth capital of basically the western seaboard. And it sounds like, from what we know about OJ, that he's a stand-up dude.
Wasn't on the take.
Nope. And he's got the canine dog, which he probably jogged with, and we don't know that for sure, but he probably took the dog with him sometimes. No, he didn't.
Oh, well, I don't know about sometimes, but the time he disappeared, he wasn't.
No, not that time.
So,
But
yeah.
so the dog
He
probably helped him maybe discover some of this on accident. Dogs alert. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like, I don't think he did it on purpose. I think he was out there doing his training, maybe whatever. Stumbled upon this thing, was like, oh shit. Because when dogs alert, especially if it's something big like that, and if this was a fairly new dog, because it kind of sounded like he got into this job, so he might have been training this dog still, and it was like 1-2 years old. They don't always listen the way they need to right away. So maybe, like, just creating my own theory here, this is what happened. So, he goes running after the dog and stumbles upon this, and is like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, what do I do with this? Somebody saw it, figured out who he was. He realizes he's in deep shit, starts setting the stage. But he didn't set the stage quick enough.
Yeah, because the Alaska thing could have tied into this a little bit.
Maybe.
Like he was trying to say, I'm getting away, so if I disappear.
Right. And I don't know if he had a full thought out plan, because it maybe he was realistically, and nobody maybe looked into this, but maybe he was contacting some of his former military members and trying to see who he could turn this over to. Because shortly after that, you look at all the DEA and everybody else who comes down the pipe. And so how do they get the tip off? You never know. I mean, realistically, he may not have, be found, but you could see, a change in a tone. And how did they get this tip off? They may have taken care of him, but possibly, I do believe that the cops took care of him, because it was there's too much meth going in and out of there. Cops, bikers, somebody, they all had a hand in it. Mm-hmm. But then the DEA swoops in and starts doing all this and uncover this stuff. And yes, they fire this guy, Darren, but it'd be interesting to see at what point, what happens after this, and then if everyone gets busted later. Because, we're talking early 2000s where they're at now. So I don't think we're ever going to find OJ, unfortunately. I think he's gone. Yeah,
they had a lot of tips of literally the same thing, saying that deputy in question was definitely involved and OJ is definitely dead. Unfortunately, they all had the same tip. Those that were part of the biker gang. So
Poor OJ.
Poor OJ.
Yeah.
Sad for his family.
That's the other piece. Mm-hmm. I wonder, if I were Deborah and Chloe, I would not be Deborah and Chloe anymore. I would sure as shit come up with a new name, a new location, a new identity, and get the hell out of there, because that's really... Unless they're in on it. Dun, 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 theory 4! I'm just kidding.
His wife stayed in the area, not exactly Antelope Valley, but she stayed in the area, and I saw somewhere that Chloe recently passed in 2020.
Oh my God.
So I'm not sure what exactly, it didn't say what of, but
oh, this is sad.
So yeah, they had a hard life after he passed, or after he went disappearing, after his disappearance also, so it really affected them. And his Sergeant at the time is still looking for him. There's still people out there looking for him, any remnants of his disappearance. So,
well, maybe
one
we'll
day
find the answers. If I were you, detectives, and you ever stumble upon this, which would be insane if you did, I would legit check his military contacts. Because I guarantee you he talked to somebody who tipped him off and told him who to contact, and that's how the DA got their start there. Boom, done. We just want it solved.
Yes, so that was just some theories, our opinions on the Jonathan Aujay case, the disappearance, the questionable disappearance of OJ. So thank you for joining us on Theory Tuesday. If you have a theory that you want us to cover, you can comment down below, like and subscribe so you get to see us every Tuesday and Friday for our podcast, Cards with Esther and Rachel. And Theon.
By the way.
So we will talk to you guys next Tuesday.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.